Before the sword moves, before the shout echoes across the field, before fear even has time to form a shape, there is a moment of absolute stillness. In that moment, the world seems to pause. Time stretches thin. Breath slows. The heart does not race. It listens. This silence is not empty. It is alive with awareness. This moment was once considered the highest achievement of a warrior's mind in Japan. Not strength, not speed, not even courage, but composure. A calm so complete that it remained untouched by chaos. The Japanese called this state Heijōshin, meaning the ordinary mind, or the calm mind in all circumstances. It was the ability to remain mentally unchanged whether facing victory or defeat, praise or insult, life or death. Today, in a world driven by outrage, instant reactions, and emotional volatility, Heijōshin feels almost impossible. Yet it may be more necessary now than ever. This is not merely a story about samurai or ancient philosophy. It is a lesson about emotional mastery, forged in the harshest conditions imaginable, and refined over centuries of discipline. To understand Heijōshin, we must return to feudal Japan, a land shaped by conflict, honor, and survival. Picture mist drifting through mountain valleys. Wooden fortresses standing against cold dawn skies. Narrow roads winding through forests where danger could emerge at any moment. In this world, the samurai lived with the constant presence of death. War was not an abstraction. It was daily reality. A samurai stepping onto a battlefield could not afford emotional instability. Fear slowed the hand. Anger clouded judgment. Pride invited mistakes. One impulsive decision could end a life in an instant. For this reason, Japanese martial culture placed extraordinary emphasis on the mind. The sword was only as effective as the consciousness guiding it. Heijōshin did not mean suppressing emotion or pretending not to feel. Samurai were human. They experienced fear, rage, doubt, and grief like anyone else. The difference was that they were trained not to be ruled by these emotions. Feelings were acknowledged, but they were not allowed to dictate action. The calm mind observed emotion without surrendering to it. In Japanese thought, the most dangerous opponent was not the enemy standing in front of you. It was the turbulence within. A warrior overwhelmed by anger became reckless. A warrior dominated by fear became hesitant. A warrior intoxicated by pride became blind. Emotional imbalance was weakness, not because emotion itself was bad, but because it fractured awareness. The philosophical roots of Heijōshin run deep into Zen Buddhism, which spread through Japan starting in the 12th century. Zen emphasized direct experience, presence, and detachment from illusion. It taught that suffering arises not from events themselves, but from our attachment to outcomes and identities. Victory and defeat, success and failure, were transient. To cling to them was to lose clarity. Zen monasteries became training grounds not just for monks, but for warriors. Samurai practiced meditation to still the mind, learning to observe thoughts as they arose and passed away. They were taught that thoughts, like clouds, do not define the sky. In this way, Zen offered warriors a psychological advantage. A mind not tangled in expectation or fear could respond with precision. One of the greatest embodiments of Heijōshin was Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman who lived during Japan's early Edo period. Musashi fought over 60 duels and was never defeated. Yet historical accounts emphasize not his physical dominance, but his mental composure. He often appeared indifferent, even relaxed, before combat. His opponents, meanwhile, were consumed by tension. Musashi wrote extensively about strategy and mindset. He warned against being led by emotion, not because emotion was immoral, but because it distorted perception. To Musashi, clarity was everything. A calm mind perceived openings others missed. While opponents obsessed over winning, Musashi focused on presence. While others feared death, he had already accepted it. This acceptance was central to Heijōshin. Samurai were taught to come to terms with death long before facing combat. This was not morbid fixation, but psychological preparation. Once death was accepted as a possibility, fear lost its power. There was nothing left to cling to, nothing to protect at the cost of clarity. Modern psychology recognizes this principle as pre-acceptance. When the mind stops resisting the possibility of loss, it conserves energy and gains focus. Panic dissolves. Action becomes clean and deliberate. What the samurai learned through experience, neuroscience now confirms. Heijoshin extended far beyond the battlefield. It was a way of life. A true warrior was expected to maintain the same composure when insulted as when praised, when bored as when celebrated. Emotional overreaction was seen as immaturity, a sign that the ego was still in control. Self-mastery meant emotional balance. Historical texts describe samurai bowing respectfully to opponents, even enemies who sought their death. This was not politeness for its own sake. It was evidence of inner stability. The warrior who remained calm in hostility demonstrated mastery over himself. And in Japanese culture, mastery of the self was the highest form of power. Contrast this with modern life. Our environment is no less demanding, but we are far less prepared. Notifications constantly interrupt attention. Social media amplifies outrage and comparison. Deadlines compress time. Opinions collide instantly. Emotional triggers are everywhere, and reaction is rewarded. We may no longer face physical combat, but our nervous systems are under continuous strain. Anxiety, burnout, and emotional exhaustion are common. Unlike the samurai, most people today receive no training in emotional regulation. We react instinctively, often without awareness. We speak before thinking. We act before observing. Heijoshin offers an alternative. Not escape, but discipline. The first principle of Heijoshin is awareness without judgment. Zen taught warriors to observe thoughts and emotions without labeling them as good or bad. Anger arises. Fear arises. Doubt arises. These experiences are noticed, but not resisted or indulged. The observer remains separate from the emotion. Modern neuroscience supports this approach. Studies show that simply naming an emotion reduces its intensity. Awareness activates the rational areas of the brain, decreasing emotional reactivity. The samurai did not know the biology, but they mastered the effect. The second principle is breathing. Traditional Japanese martial arts placed immense importance on breath control. Slow, deep breathing into the lower abdomen, known as the hara, was practiced daily. The hara was believed to be the center of physical balance and inner strength. When emotions surged, warriors returned to the breath. This stabilized the body and calmed the mind. Today, this is recognized as activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which reduces stress and restores balance. For the samurai, breathing was not relaxation. It was survival. The third principle is detachment from outcome. A warrior obsessed with winning was already distracted. Victory-focused thinking created tension and anticipation, which fractured presence. Instead, warriors were trained to focus on correct action in the present moment. The outcome was secondary. This mindset still exists in Japanese craftsmanship today. Artisans repeat tasks thousands of times, not chasing recognition, but pursuing mastery. Ironically, detachment from outcome often leads to superior results. When pressure dissolves, performance improves. Heijoshin also required humility. Emotional humility meant understanding that not every provocation deserved a response, and not every thought was worth believing. The calm warrior did not seek validation or dominance. He sought alignment. In this sense, Heijoshin is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming emotionally literate. Feelings are acknowledged, understood, and released. Control is not suppression. It is integration. In a modern world that profits from your reactions, emotional control is an act of rebellion. In a culture addicted to noise, silence becomes power. In a life filled with uncertainty, the calm mind becomes an anchor. Heijoshin teaches us that calm is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Stillness is not passivity. It is readiness. It is strength without tension. Awareness without distortion. The samurai understood that the sharpest blade was useless in an unsteady hand. Likewise, intelligence, talent, and ambition are wasted in a chaotic mind. Mastery begins within. Heijoshin is not a relic of the past. It is a living discipline. One that invites us to meet chaos without becoming it. To feel deeply without drowning. To act decisively without losing ourselves. And in a world that constantly demands reaction, the ability to remain calm may be the greatest skill of all.